The ranch is quiet, but not with peace. It's the kind of silence that feels wrong, heavy, and filled with fear. Amy Fleming is gone, taken, and Ty Borden. The man who once walked through fire for her now finds himself staring at the empty yard of Heartland with his chest burning in rage and despair. This isn't just about love, it's about survival. Ty knows one thing for sure. Whoever took Amy made the worst mistake of their life, because he will stop at nothing, break every wall, and face every danger to bring her back. But the clock is ticking, and every second she's missing feels like a knife twisting deeper into his soul. The morning light at Heartland should have brought comfort, but instead, it revealed chaos. Amy's horse was still tied near the fence, restless and uneasy, as if it had witnessed something it couldn't understand. Jack's face was pale, his jaw clenched tight as he stood on the porch, staring at the ground where Amy's boot had been left behind. Lindy, frightened and confused, clung to Lou's side, asking questions no one wanted to answer. Where's Mommy? Why didn't she come inside last night? Ty stood in the middle of it all, frozen. His hands trembled as he picked up Amy's boot, holding it like it was the last piece of her he could touch. Guilt rushed through him in waves. He should have been there. He should have protected her. Every memory of her smile, her laugh, her gentle touch now felt like torment. His chest heaved, not just with grief but with a storm of anger. Whoever took Amy wasn't going to get away with it. Inside the house, the tension grew heavier. Lou tried to calm Lindy, but her voice cracked as she spoke. She was just as broken, just as afraid. Jack slammed his hand against the table, his eyes blazing with the kind of fury Ty had never seen before. This family has suffered enough, Jack growled. I lost Marion, and I'll be damned if I lose Amy too. His words were like sparks in the dark, igniting the fire already burning. Inside Ty didn't speak right away. His silence was louder than shouting. Finally turned to Jack, his voice low but steady. I'll find her, no matter what it takes. I don't care who's behind this. I don't care what I have to face. I'll bring Amy back. His words cut through the room like steel. The sheriff arrived soon after, asking questions, jotting down notes, promising an investigation. But Ty knew better. He'd seen how slow the system could move, how quickly leads went cold. Couldn't sit around, waiting for someone else to bring Amy home. The law was too careful, too slow, and time was already slipping away. He clenched his fists, his jaw locked in determination. If no one else was moving fast enough, he would. That night, while the family gathered in the living room, trying to stay strong for Lindy, Ty slipped outside. The air was sharp, the sky full of stars that seemed to mock his desperation. He walked to the barn, running his hand along Spartan's mane. The horse shifted uneasily, sensing Ty's unrest. We'll find her, Ty whispered. His voice cracked, but his eyes stayed fierce. We'll find her, no matter what. And that's when Caleb showed up. His truck rumbled into the yard, headlights cutting through the darkness. He stepped out, his face hardened with resolve. I heard, Caleb said simply. No more words were needed. He looked at Ty, and Ty looked back at him, both men carrying the same fire in their eyes. Caleb had fought alongside Ty before. He knew the kind of man Ty was. And he knew this fight wasn't one he could let Ty face alone. Ty gave a small nod, his throat too tight to speak. But in that moment, an unspoken pact was made. They would find Amy. Together. And nothing, no danger, no fear. No enemy would stop them. The barn smelled of hay and dust. The faint sound of Spartan's hooves shifting against the wooden floor, echoing in the stillness. Ty leaned against the stall door, his eyes fixed on the ground, replaying every moment of the last day over and over again. He felt like he was suffocating in guilt. Then Caleb's heavy boots crunched on the gravel outside before he stepped into the barn. His presence filled the space with something Ty didn't know he needed: strength. Caleb didn't waste time with small talk. He walked straight up to Ty and looked him dead in the eye. Tell me what you know, he said, his voice firm, steady, like a man ready for war. Ty swallowed hard, the tension in his chest finally breaking into words. She was here. She was right here. One moment I heard her laughing with Lindy, and the next gone. No struggle, no sound, just gone. His voice cracked on the last word. He pressed his hand against the stall door to steady himself. Caleb set his jaw, nodding slowly. Whoever did this, they're not random. Amy doesn't just get taken by chance. Someone's behind this, and I'm not letting you go after them alone. Ty shook his head, the fight already rising in his chest. I can't drag you into this, Caleb. It's my responsibility, my fight. But Caleb stepped closer, his tone sharp, but filled with brotherly weight. Don't pull that lone wolf crap with me, Ty. Amy isn't just your family, she's mine too. She's the reason I ever straightened out, the reason I even stuck around this ranch. And if she's in trouble, I'm in this fight right beside you. No arguments. The words hit Ty like a hammer, breaking through the wall he was building. Around himself? He closed his eyes, nodding slowly, the sting of emotion rising in his throat. Caleb's loyalty was more than friendship, it was blood. It's forged by years of battles, heartbreak, and hard lessons on this land. They spent the next hour inside the barn, piecing together what little they knew. Ty walked Caleb through the scene. Abandoned boot, the restless horse, the tire marks near the back fence. Caleb crouched by the dirt, dragging his fingers across the faint track marks left behind. These are fresh, he muttered. Whoever it was didn't get far. We stood, brushing the dirt from his hands, eyes narrowing in thought. You said you saw that stranger in town last week, the one asking questions about Amy? Ty nodded. Slowly, the memory flashing back like lightning. A tall man, sharp-eyed, pretending to shop at Maggie's but clearly watching Amy every move she made. Ty's fists clenched at the thought. Yeah, and I should have done something then. Stopped him. Caleb grabbed Ty's arm, forcing him to meet his gaze. Stop. Don't you start tearing yourself apart over this. Blaming yourself isn't going to bring her back. What will bring her back is us getting off our asses and finding her. What Amy needs from you right now, not guilt, action. Ty's chest tightened, but Caleb's words sparked a fire in him. He wasn't alone. For the first time since Amy's disappearance, he felt a surge of hopes, small, fragile, but real. Together, they started mapping out a plan. First, they'd follow the tire tracks. Then they'd question anyone in Hudson who might have seen something unusual. Every lead mattered, no matter how small. As the clock pushed toward midnight, Caleb leaned against the barn wall, staring at Ty with a half-smile. You know, this isn't the first time we've chased after trouble. Remember when we went looking for Spartan years back? Amy never let us forget how reckless we were. His smile faded into something softer. Difference is this time it's not just about a horse, it's about her. And that means we don't stop until she's safe. Ty gave a faint nod, his hand brushing the edge of Amy's scarf he had kept in his pocket all evening. The fabric was worn, but it carried her scent. Her warmth. He gripped it tighter, his voice firm now. Then we move at first light, no waiting, no hesitation. Caleb pushed himself off the wall, his boots thudding against the wood as he turned toward the barn door. First light. Ty, we're not waiting for the sun to do our job. We start now. Every second, Amy's out there. She's in danger. You with me or not? Ty blinked, his exhaustion battling his determination. But Caleb was right. There was no time for rest, no room for fear. Ty's eyes hardened, his shoulders straightening as if the weight of his guilt had shifted into purpose. I'm with you all the way. And so, with the night wrapped around them like a cloak, Ty and Caleb stepped out of the barn together. The gravel crunched beneath their boots, Spartan neighed in the background, and the wind howled across the open land. Heartland was their home, but tonight it had become their battlefield. Somewhere out there, Amy was waiting. Together, they were ready to tear apart the dark until they found her. The first rays of dawn barely lit the horizon when Ty and Caleb hit the back roads outside Hudson. The air was sharp with the crisp. The scent of early morning, but it did little to calm the storm of thoughts in Ty's mind. Every mile he drove felt like a heartbeat closer to finding Amy or farther from her if they were too late. He gripped the steering wheel tighter than necessary, the leather pressing into his knuckles, his eyes scanning every shadow, every curve in the road. Caleb rode shotgun, his expression focused, eyes flicking between the tracks on the dirt shoulder and the passing trees. "These tracks," he said, pointing to the faint impressions in the soft mud, "aren't random. Whoever left them knew the back roads. They wanted to disappear, but they didn't cover their trail well enough." His voice was calm, but beneath it, Ty could feel the urgency. Every minute counted, and Caleb's insight sharpened their purpose. They followed the tracks for miles, winding through the forested edges of the town, past old barns and abandoned fields. Each turn and twist seemed to taunt them, as though the abductors were always one step ahead. Ty's mind raced, recalling every detail of Amy's routines, her habits, and the people she interacted with daily. He searched for anything that could explain why she was targeted, why someone would risk everything to take her. Then came the first real clue. Near the edge of a creek, a broken branch lay on the ground, torn recently, and nearby, a scrap of fabric caught on a jagged twig. Ty's heart clenched. He recognized the texture immediately, part of Amy's favorite scarf. "She was here," he muttered under his breath, crouching to inspect it. Caleb joined him, brushing dirt away from the twig to reveal the fabric fully. "She's close," Caleb said quietly, though his voice carried the weight of certainty. "We're on the right path." Tracks led them further into the back roads, twisting and narrowing until they reached the outskirts of an abandoned industrial area. Rusting warehouses and empty loading docks loomed in the early light, their shadows stretching like fingers across the cracked pavement. Ty slowed the truck, tension coiling tight in his chest. The tracks ended at one of the warehouses, fresh, tire marks leading straight to a large, rusted sliding door. Ty's pulse thundered in his ears. He stepped out of the truck, boots crunching on gravel, and ran his hand along the cold metal of the door. They left in a hurry, he observed, or they weren't expecting anyone to follow. Caleb crouched beside the door, examining footprints that led around the side. "Not just a random abduction," he said. "These people knew exactly what they were doing. Whoever took Amy is careful, maybe experienced, but they made a mistake leaving these tracks. That's all we need." Ty took a deep breath, staring at the warehouse. Every nerve in his body screamed danger, but his focus was absolute. "We go in quietly," he said, determination hardening. His voice, "We can't risk her life by letting them know we're coming." Caleb nodded, his hand brushing over Ty's shoulder briefly. "We move smart but fast, and we watch for anything unusual." The two men approached the side of the building, moving silently like hunters in the early dawn. Inside, shadows shifted, and Ty could see signs of recent activity, discarded boxes. A faint smell of smoke and, most importantly, a partially open crate with marks that suggested someone had been dragged inside. He froze, a shiver running down his spine, staring. His spine of his being screamed that Amy was in there somewhere waiting for him. Caleb's voice was low but firm. "We'll get her, I promise, but we have to stay sharp. One wrong move, and we could blow this." Ty nodded, fists clenched. His mind replayed everything, every laugh Amy had shared that morning, every gentle moment she'd given him, every promise he had made. He could not fail her. Not now. As they prepared to move closer, a faint sound reached Ty's ears, a muffled cry. Barely audible, carried through the gaps in the warehouse walls. His heart leapt. Amy, that had to be her. "There," he whispered, pointing. "She's alive." Caleb's eyes hardened. "Then we don't waste another second." The two men circled the warehouse, mapping every potential entrance, every shadowed corner. They were close, dangerously close. But the closer they got, the more Ty realized the stakes. This wasn't just a chase. It was a trap waiting for the right moment to strike. And somewhere inside that rusting, silent building, Amy's fate, hung by a fragile thread. Ty's jaw tightened. "No matter what, we get her out." Caleb gave a grim nod, matching Ty's intensity. Together they moved with precision, every step calculated, every sense alert. The hunt had begun in earnest, and there was no turning back. The first lead had brought them to the edge of danger, and now every decision could mean the difference between life and death. Ty and Caleb were in the fight of their lives, and Amy's life depended on it. Ty and Caleb crouched behind a rusted stack of crates, hearts hammering as the first sounds of movement echoed from inside the warehouse. Shadows shifted across the cracked floor, and the faint murmur of voices reached them. Ty could hear the faint rustle of Amy's scarf in his mind, reminding him she was alive somewhere inside, waiting. Every second wasted could bring her closer. To danger. 2 guards by the main door, Caleb whispered, pointing toward the flickering shadows. Looks like they're armed. This isn't going to be easy. Ty's jaw tightened, anger burning in his chest. The fear that had clawed at him since Amy was taken now transformed into resolve. We can't wait for them to come to us. We have to move, quiet, fast, and precise. They circled around the side of the warehouse, using shadows for cover. Moving like predators tracking prey. Ty's mind ran through every scenario, an ambush, a chase, even a potential trap inside. But he forced himself to focus on one thought. Amy had to come out alive. No hesitation. No mistakes. Suddenly, a loud metallic clang echoed from the far end of the building. One of the guards flinched, looking toward the noise. Ty's pulse raced. Caleb grabbed his arm and pulled him back behind the crates. They're on edge. That's our advantage. But it won't last long. The 2 men exchanged a brief nod and moved toward the warehouse entrance. Every step was careful but urgent. They had learned long ago that hesitation could cost lives. Ty could feel the adrenaline surging through him as he peered through a small gap in the wooden boards inside. Crates and abandoned machinery created a maze-like environment. Shadows hid corners, and the faint echo of footsteps indicated that whoever had Amy was moving her from one place to another. Ty's stomach twisted with both fear and determination. He clenched his fists, knowing that one wrong step could alert the abductors and put Amy in even greater danger. Then they saw Harami. She was in the far corner, tied to a chair, bruised but conscious. Her eyes widened when she noticed the movement at the doorway. Ty's breath caught, relief mixed with rage surged through him. Amy, he whispered under his breath, his voice trembling with emotion. Caleb's hand tightened on Ty's shoulder.
Ow.
We need a distraction. Make them look the other way so we can get to her without being seen.
Ty nodded,
Scanning the
surroundings. A small stack of crates sat nearby, balanced precariously. He kicked it over, sending a loud crash that echoed through the warehouse. The guards spun toward the noise, shouting. This was their moment. Ty bolted across the open space, every muscle in his body straining to reach Amy. Caleb followed, covering his back and keeping the guards distracted with a series of wheel-aimed maneuvers, using shadows and crates as cover. The tension was suffocating. Every heartbeat amplified in the quiet chaos of the warehouse. Amy struggled against her bindings, panic in her eyes, but seeing Ty running toward her sparked a flicker of hope. Ty reached her side, quickly cutting the ropes with a knife he had pulled from his belt. It's okay, Amy. I've got you, he said, his voice firm but gentle. Trying to calm her terror, the guards turned back just in time to see Ty and Amy make their move. Ty grabbed Amy's hand, pulling her toward the exit, while Caleb engaged the guards, buying them precious seconds. The fight was tense, fast, and dangerous. Every motion critical. They sprinted through the maze of crates, dodging swinging chains and debris until they burst into the open air. The warehouse loomed behind them, shadows of the men inside barely catching sight of their escape. Ty didn't stop running until they were well beyond the immediate danger. Once clear, Ty collapsed against a tree, holding Amy close. She sobbed into his chest, the relief pouring out in waves. Caleb stood nearby, scanning the area for any signs of pursuit. We're not out of the woods yet, he reminded them, but at least she's safe for now. Ty nodded, brushing the dirt from his pants and holding Amy tighter. We're not stopping until we make sure they never come near us again, he said, his voice filled with both fury and determination. The chase was over for now, but the danger lingered like a shadow over Heartland. Ty knew this was only the beginning. The abductors wouldn't give up easily, and neither would he. Every decision from this point on would matter. Every move calculated to protect Amy and ensure the family he loved stayed safe. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying away the echoes of the warehouse chaos, but Ty's resolve burned brighter than ever. Amy was back in his arms, but the battle was far from over. They had survived the first threat, but Ty knew the worst could still be coming. The forest air hung heavy with mist, raw soft sunlight barely filtering through the thick canopy above. Ty sat on a fallen log, his chest heaving, Amy safe beside him. For the moment, yet despite her presence, an unshakable weight pressed on his shoulders, a gnawing guilt he couldn't ignore. He watched Amy shiver slightly, brushing her hair back from her face, and felt a sting of shame. This is my fault, he thought. If I had been more careful, more aware, she wouldn't have been taken. I failed her. Each breath he took carried the weight of that failure, and every sound of the forest reminded him of what almost happened. Caleb crouched beside him, noticing Ty's distant gaze. You can't blame yourself for this, he said firmly, placing a hand on Ty's shoulder. You didn't take her? You didn't put her in danger? These people are the monsters. All on them. Ty shook his head slowly, his fists clenching in frustration. I should have been faster. I should have noticed the signs. Every second I wasn't there, they were taking her further away. And now, his voice broke. Now I could have lost her forever. Caleb's eyes hardened, but his voice stayed calm. Look at me, Ty. She's alive. And she's alive because you didn't give up. You're here. That matters. It counts for everything. Ty's chest tightened, a mixture of relief and self-reproach washing over him. Ty's chest tightened, a mixture of relief and self-reproach washing over him. Stared down at Amy's hand, resting in his, soft and warm. Her trust in him, even now, felt sacred. He couldn't let her down again. Not ever. I won't let them hurt her again, he said, his voice firm despite the tremor beneath it. No matter what it takes, I'll face anything. Every risk, every fight, I'll do it. Caleb nodded approvingly. That's the fire I was talking about. But fire alone isn't enough. We need a plan. Every step calculated, every lead followed. You can't let guilt cloud your judgment. Ty inhaled deeply, the cold air filling his lungs, and let the anger and guilt transform into resolve. He scanned the horizon, the mist giving way to glimpses of distant fields and broken fences. Somewhere out there, Amy's abductors were still moving, still planning, but Ty's determination burned brighter than any fear. He would hunt them down, piece by piece, until she was completely safe. He turned to Amy, brushing the dirt from her sleeve gently. I won't stop until you're home, till you're safe, and I promise you, I will make sure they never hurt you or anyone else again. Amy's eyes shimmered with tears, but a faint, determined smile crossed her lips. I know you won't, Ty, she whispered. I trust you. The words hit him like a lifeline. Trust, love, responsibility. They weren't just motivations, they were weapons. Weapons stronger than fear, stronger than doubt. Ty realized something vital in that moment. His guilt, while heavy, could fuel his courage instead of weakening him. Caleb stood, glancing toward the path ahead. We need to move. If they're smart, they'll realize we're close. And the longer we wait, the less chance we have to catch them off guard. As Ty nodded, standing tall, his resolve hardened into something unbreakable. Then we move. Number. Hesitation, no distractions. Every step is for Amy. They adjusted their gear, checking the ropes, the knives, and their surroundings. Every detail mattered because the next move could be critical. Ty's mind raced through strategies, imagining the potential traps, the risks, and the best approach to keep Amy safe while confronting the abductors. With Caleb by his side and Amy's trust in his hands, Ty's guilt became a driving force. It was no longer a weight, it was a weapon, a reminder of what was at stake. He would channel it into every movement, every decision, every confrontation ahead, as the mist lifted and the first hints of morning bathed the forest in pale light. Ty took a final deep breath. The hunt was far from over. The danger was escalating. But Ty Borden was ready. Caleb beside him and Amy at the center of his world. He was prepared to face whatever came next. The resolve in his eyes was clear. No obstacle, no threat, no dark corner could stop him. Amy's abductors would soon learn that. Ty's determination was as relentless as the love he held for her. The morning mist lingered over the back roads of Hudson as Ty. Caleb and Amy moved cautiously through the forested edges near the last warehouse. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves, set Ty's nerves on edge. He carried Amy's hand in his, careful not to let her slip.
Ow.
While Caleb scanned their surroundings for any sign that they were being followed. Time was their enemy, but so far, luck had stayed on their side. Ty's mind, however, was elsewhere on every detail he had missed, every second that had passed while Amy was in danger. He had to focus, he told himself. Every step now could lead them closer to the abductors or farther into a trap. The forest opened into a small clearing, overgrown with tall grass and scattered debris. And then something caught Caleb's eye. There, he said sharply, pointing toward a piece of fabric caught on a low branch. Ty's stomach clenched. He recognized it immediately. It was Amy's scarf, frayed at the edge and stained with a faint trace of mud. It wasn't a lot, but it was proof. She'd been here recently. She was close. Ty approached carefully, brushing the fabric gently with his fingertips. This isn't just luck, he murmured. They left it behind. Maybe on purpose, maybe by mistake. Either way, it's our lead. Caleb nodded, crouching to inspect the ground nearby. Faint tire tracks ran through the mud, partially hidden under fallen leaves. Fresh tracks, he confirmed. Someone's moving her again. Whoever took her isn't planning to hide for long. They want to keep moving. Ty's mind raced, connecting dots. He remembered a suspicious man he had seen in town days ago, the one who had lingered too long near Amy while she was at Maggie's. Could he be connected? Is this man part of something bigger? Ty shook his head, trying to focus. Speculation wouldn't save Amy. Action would. He gestured toward the tracks. We follow these. Every clue counts. Every sign could tell us where they're taking her next. As they moved forward, Ty noticed something unusual, a faint glimmer in the dirt ahead. He knelt down, brushing away leaves and mud, revealing a small metal pendant engraved with the initials R's. Ty's heart skipped a beat. He didn't recognize it immediately, but something about it felt familiar, as if it belonged to someone with a deeper connection to this kidnapping. Caleb peered over Ty's shoulder. RS? That doesn't ring any bells with you. Ty shook, his head slowly, but his instincts screamed. Whoever RS was, they were tied to Amy's abduction, and this clue was no coincidence. It's deliberate, he said quietly. They want us to know it exists, or they made a careless mistake. Either way, it's something we can use. Amy watched silently, a flicker of hope in her eyes. She knew she had been caught in a dangerous situation, but seeing Ty and Caleb fight for her made her heart surge with relief, at Ty's determination. Caleb's steady presence, and this new clue gave her a renewed sense of courage. Ty pocketed the pendant carefully, examining the initials once more. This changes things, he said. We're not just chasing random criminals. Someone is organized, someone smart. We just got our first real lead to their identity. Caleb's expression hardened. Then we use it. Every detail matters. If we can figure out who our S is, we can anticipate their next move. Ty nodded, his focus sharpening. The guilt and frustration that had weighed him down only hours ago had transformed into resolve. Every second mattered, and now they had a thread to follow, clue to unravel the mystery that had consumed their hearts as they continued along the muddy trail. Ty glanced back at Amy. She was scared, but she trusted him. And that trust, he realized, was both a responsibility and a weapon. They were closer now than ever before to finding the abductors, and Ty was ready to use every ounce of his strength, skill, and cunning to get Amy home safely. The forest seemed too close in around them, shadows stretching like silent sentinels, but Ty's resolve burned brighter than any fear. This clue, small, subtle, yet undeniable, was the turning point. The chase was no longer just about following tracks. It was about uncovering the truth, exposing the abductors, and ensuring Amy's safety before it was too late. With Caleb at his side and Amy in his thoughts, Ty pressed forward, knowing that next steps would lead them straight into danger, but also closer to the hope that had driven him since the very beginning. The abandoned barn loomed ahead, half hidden by overgrown weeds and the shadow of tall pine trees. Ty and Caleb moved silently, every sense alert, the pendant in Ty's pocket, a constant reminder of the clue that had brought them this far. Amy's voice, or the memory of it, echoed in Ty's mind, driving him forward. Each step was measured, cautious yet urgent. The abductors were close, and time was running out. Ty crouched behind a fallen fence post, scanning the perimeter. 2 guards at the main entrance, 1 in the back, he whispered. Caleb nodded, crouched beside him, eyes sharp as a hawk's, and 1 inside with her. I think they're moving fast. We need a plan. Ty's mind raced, piecing together every detail they had gathered so far. The tire tracks, the pendant, the broken branches, the scarf, all of it pointed to the fact that these weren't random criminals. They were organized, experienced, and dangerous. But Ty had Amy's safety as his guiding force, and Caleb beside him. He felt the focus and strength to face anything. Here's what we do, Ty said quietly. I'll create a distraction at the front. You circle around to the back. When I give the signal, we move in. Fast. No hesitation. Our goal is her, nothing else. Caleb gave a brief nod, gripping the handle of his knife. Got it. Just promise me you don't take unnecessary risks. Ty smirked faintly, but there was no humor in it. You mean like I ever do? He rose slowly, disappearing behind the barn's corner, every muscle coiled like a spring ready to strike. The moment he stepped into view, the 2 guards at the front noticed him. Hey, one shouted, reaching for his gun. Ty dove to the side, kicking over a stack of wooden crates. The loud crash echoed across the barnyard, drawing their attention entirely from the shadows. Caleb slipped around the back, silently taking down the rear guard with a precise strike. The tension was suffocating. Every heartbeat thundered like a drum. Inside, Ty could hear muffled sounds, Omni's faint cries, the abductors shouting at one another. The chaos was a dangerous mix of opportunity and risk. Ty sprinted toward the open doorway, dodging swinging chains and debris, his eyes locked on Amy, tied to a chair in the far corner. Relief and anger surged together. He ripped the ropes, binding her hands with one swift motion. Amy, it's okay. I've got you. Amy's eyes filled with tears as she scrambled to her feet, trusting Ty completely. Ty, I knew you'd come, she cried. Caleb joined them, keeping a watchful eye on the remaining abductors.